Before Carolyn Jones could get that iconic role of Morticia Addams in the classic show, The Addams Family, Hollywood forced her to make some drastic decisions that ended up costing her her own life. To know what happened, follow us along as we unveil the untold stories of the life of Carolyn Jones, while we also show you some of her rare photos. Carolyn Sue Jones was born on April 28, 1930, in Amarillo, Texas. The actress would have enjoyed a normal childhood had it not been for her father, Julius Alfred Jones. Julius became overwhelmed with the burden of taking care of a family of 4 during the Great Depression, so he abandoned his family, leaving his agoraphobic wife with their children to cater for. Carolyn's mother would move with her 2 daughters into her maternal grandparents' home, and things would get even worse from there. At her new home, Carolyn suffered from chronic asthma, which meant that she needed constant medical attention. This restricted her interactions with the outside world, and so young Carolyn would find comfort on the pages of Hollywood fan publications. And so her love for the entertainment industry was ignited, and she couldn't help but imagine her life beyond Texas as a Hollywood star. It wouldn't take so much time before she learned of a prestigious acting school, and that became the only thing on her mind. Her grandparents didn't want that for her, as they had planned that she would study to become a doctor or lawyer. But Carolyn kept her eyes fixed on the big stage. She kept on persisting, and soon, she was finally able to convince them. So, in 1947, 17-year-old Carolyn joined the Pasadena Playhouse. 2 years in Pasadena, and wedding bells were already ringing for Carolyn. She had started a dramatic romance with her male classmate, Don Donaldson, and they wanted to move things up very quickly. Things got complicated in the early days of their marriage, and they divorced after their first year. But Carolyn would still have reason to celebrate. It was around this time that she was spotted by a talent agent who secured her a contract with Paramount Pictures, and by 1952, she had her first uncredited role in The Turning Point. Carolyn's career success began in 1954 after she was cast as Beth in the American crime film Shield for Murder. Her breakthrough film role came with the 1957 television play The Bachelor's Party, for which she earned a Golden Globe Award for New Star of the Year. Another big feature was in King Creole alongside Elvis Presley. Her career suffered a major decline after this, but in 1964, it was a defining year for the actress as she was cast in what was the most popular role in her career. With a long coal-black wig, Jones played Morticia Addams in the black comedy sitcom The Addams Family. For this role, Carolyn earned another Grammy nomination and was very much praised for her acting skills and comedic abilities. The Addams Family was the peak of Carolyn Jones's acting career, and as it would seem after this, there was nowhere else to go but down. So Jones's career started a downward spiral. Although she was able to score a few roles because of her reputation, sadly she was never able to match any of her past breakthroughs. And after 1976, Carolyn disappeared from the screens, and the next big news about her would be her death from colon cancer. But was that all there was to her life? Well, as you can guess, it is not. In fact, there are so many interesting things that happened in her life before her death. And in one of the most interesting of all is how she became Carolyn 2.0. What is that? Let's rewind back a little bit. It all started when Carolyn was just a little kid. Like most grandparents, all Carolyn's grandparents wanted was for her to become a medical doctor. But Carolyn wanted something else for her life. Instead, she wanted a life behind the camera. It was even reported that after her grandfather dragged her to Southern Methodist University, Carolyn would make a scene when she plunked herself on the steps of the rotunda, wailing and begging for her grandfather to allow her to go to acting school. When she finally did, her first few moments in the industry would teach her that the game was a lot more different from the inside. Jones learned that it took a little more than talent and good grades to score prominent roles in Hollywood. Though she worked hard for it while in school, graduating top of her class, Hollywood still demanded a little more from her. Carolyn understood that she needed to change her looks to fit into the industry standards of beauty if she was ever going to have a chance at Hollywood's A-list. So, surgery became the only option. Jones went in for a complete head-to-toe makeover. She had them make her nose a little longer and more pointed, rework a few other parts of her body, dyed her hair blonde, ditched her Texas accent, fixed her posture, and wore shiny outfits. Did it work? You bet it did. After the makeover, it won't be long now before the talent agent scouted her and scheduled her for a screen test with Paramount Studio. She passed the interview and so was given a 6-month contract. But Jones can't deny that she never for one day thought about what the consequences of such a heavy transformation would be. And when they came, even her contract won't be able to save her. Carolyn was only able to land 2 minor roles before her contract with Paramount expired, so she was not able to cope with her new glamorous Hollywood lifestyle. The inevitable was coming. Even as Paramount's latest star, the actress would run broke within 5 months of her contract and would need to call her family for help. Things got so bad with her that her sister Bet had to move in with her so they could split the rent. A born fighter, Carolyn would take up any role she could find just so she could survive. This strategy worked well in keeping her afloat while she waited for the big break. But along the line, the actress was met with a few romantic distractions. You would think that going through so much trouble in one's career would guarantee that you would at least enjoy a happy love life. Carolyn thought the same too, but she was going to be disappointed. Her love life was going to be as dramatic as her career, or maybe a little extra even. But the truth is, her relationship woes started way before she even got any break in the industry. She first found love at Pasadena Acting School. 17-year-old Carolyn Jones fell head over heels with 27-year-old classmate Don Donaldson and decided to marry him after their first year together. Rarely have we seen love like this last, and unfortunately, this time wasn't going to be any different. They divorced after their first year. She found love again with American film producer Aaron Spelling. Aaron turned out to become a very popular name in the industry, but at that time, he was just a simple actor and scriptwriter. Carolyn was even more established, but they shared such passionate love that none of that mattered, at least for now. What brought and kept the couple together was their mutual interest in comedy and their young zeal to succeed. Carolyn and Aaron enjoyed a blissful relationship, but as reported, for some reason, Spelling never wanted to pop the big question, and Jones was running out of patience. She would take matters into her own hands, literally, when she proposed to the actor. Aaron, of course, was shocked by the actress's boldness, but he still accepted anyway. And in April 1953, the couple tied the knot. Unfortunately, as adorable as this love story was, it was going to end sooner than anyone expected. The couple managed to keep it together for 10 years, but things went out of control with Spelling's newfound success. He started spending a lot of nights outside the home without any reasonable justification, and soon enough, Jones decided that it was it. They separated sometime in 1963, just before The Addams Family premiered. And it was also reported that Aaron was the one who convinced Jones to accept the role of Morticia Addams. Jones's next marriage was with musical director Herbert Green. They got married 3 years after her divorce from Aaron, and this marriage ended in 1977. While they were together, Green somehow convinced Carolyn to abandon her acting career and become a full-time housewife. Together, they moved to Palm Springs. As it would seem, what kept this marriage together would be Carolyn's compliance to become a housewife, and as soon as she declared interest in the acting business again, they broke apart. Carolyn's last marriage was with Peter Bailey Britton in September 1982, and they were together until she died in 1983. But as sad as her relationship life sounds, it wasn't the biggest disaster she would have to put up with in her life. Her biggest tragedy was with her health. Jones was at war with diseases all her life. It ruined her childhood, and it would come back even stronger in her acting days. In fact, the disease did its best to make sure Jones never crossed the mark. In fact, her sickness would cost her a potential Oscar award role. Jones was selected by Columbia Pictures to play Lorraine in what would turn out to be the studio's biggest picture of the year, From Here to Eternity. But as you can tell, her sickness didn't allow her to take the part. Up until this point, Carolyn had only had minor parts on the big screen, and this was going to be her first major film role. On the evening before her screen test, Carolyn was rushed to the hospital and was diagnosed with pneumonia and a 104-degree fever. The actress battled for her life that evening and was lucky to have made it through. She would be replaced by actress Donna Reed, who won an Oscar for that same role. The second time her sickness would almost cost her an award-winning role was when she was cast alongside Elvis Presley for the movie King Creole. This was going to be Presley's last film before he joined the army. Disaster struck again, and Carolyn was in a hospital bed. Not willing to drown in the regrets of what could have been, Jones would insist that she would maintain her role even when she was visibly weak. Pairing with Elvis meant that they were going to share romantic scenes, and sick Carolyn reportedly begged to get out of a kissing scene. But luckily, Presley had a sense of humor about it all. "That's all right. Maybe it will get me out of the army," Presley said. Anyway, the film was a box office success and set Jones back on the path to career success. But her greatest role to date was her role as Morticia in the classic show The Addams Family. But there's something she hates about her character. The Addams Family was that one show that Carolyn has waited for all her life, and it came just at the right moment and catapulted her to superstardom. As revealed by Carolyn, she loved everything about the show, except for Morticia's signature gown. It might have looked amazing, but the gown was reportedly so tight that Jones could barely walk in it, and each day, it would take her 20 minutes after filming to get it off. The designers had to sew Velcro into the back of the dress to make things a little easier for her. When ABC announced the show's cancellation after 2 seasons, Jones was heartbroken, but that wasn't going to stop the inevitable, and so the show's run would come to an end in 1966. After The Addams Family, Carolyn's struggle to get prominent roles in the industry began, as everyone could see her only as Morticia Addams. She returned to Broadway with the play Homecoming in a bid to save her dying career, but she would soon regret that decision after it backfired. And when the resilient actress was finally able to make a comeback, death came knocking. Jones was already used to her health condition, and this time she would expect the familiar, but it was far more dangerous than she had thought. It all started on her flight to Los Angeles from Dallas. The film star reportedly started vomiting blood, and it would take a lot of medical expertise to get her back to normal again. She would try to write this off as a stomach ulcer, but a proper medical diagnosis revealed that it was colon cancer. Carolyn had only started to get a grip on her career trajectory after all these years, only for this to try to take it all away. Determined not to go down without a fight, the 51-year-old actress secretly went in for surgery and chemotherapy, and that worked for some time. She even wore a lace and ribbon cap to hide her hair loss from chemotherapy. But it won't be long now before the doctors would have another terrifying news to share. Her cancer that was in remission was back, and this time it was even more deadly. Jones did all she could, but it was going to be it this time. Her body stopped responding to treatments, and it was clear that there was nothing anyone could do medically. Interestingly, she continued to take acting gigs as she tried to finish up her existing contracts also. She was resolved not to let sickness define her limitations, but before long, the cancer spread to other parts of her body, and she soon became paralyzed. Still, this tough lady would continue acting even from a wheelchair. She married the love of her life during her last days and was determined that if death was going to come, it would find her doing all she loved. In July 1983, Carolyn Jones went into a deep coma at her home in West Hollywood, California, and by August, she was announced dead. At the time of death, Carolyn Jones was 53 years old. Her body was cremated, and a memorial ceremony was organized 2 days later at the Glasband Willen Mortuary in Altadena, California. Before her death, Carolyn had arranged for her Morticia outfit and wig to be donated to the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences. Her husband, Bailey Britton, would also donate a collection of the Addams Family scripts to UCLA. At the time of her death, Carolyn Jones had an estimated net worth of $1.6 million. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out our other videos of beautiful actresses from yesteryears on the end screen.